We kick it off tonight with David Waters from Gators Breakdown to talk a lot of Florida football. So, David, you guys aren't playing any more games, but man, I got a long list of things that I got to talk to you about.
Mark, if people know Gators Breakdown, I got the moniker. There's never a dull moment in Gator Nation, and
I guess
it fits. It fits.
Not as long as you got a certain guy on the sideline, for better or worse. So, on the positive side, I don't know that too many people, unless they were just radically against Dan Mullen, would have had too many unkind words to say about him, let's say a month ago, concerning his treatment of the football program and the football team. Highly successful this year. Didn't end the way you would have liked. But let's start with this. The fallout after the Cotton Bowl. I think any reasonable football fan, just knowing the opt-out situation, wide receiver and elsewhere on the team, would have understood, hey, this team just lost by 15 or 20 points to a really good Oklahoma team, and then we can make our own assessment of it. I know that you do that, obviously, in evaluating teams, especially during bowl play. But, of course, Coach Mullen had to make a lot of excuses that turned and rubbed people the wrong way. So I want to get your take, first of all, on how he coached the game, treated the outcome, because there were also, during the broadcast, some references to him kind of thinking or making it known to the broadcast team that was doing the game the day before that it may turn out to be pretty ugly. So we're kind of anticipating that we're going to kind of experiment a little bit tonight.
Mark, it started with me right after the SEC championship game. I'm sitting there in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We're talking to Dan Mullen after the game on a Zoom press conference, and he pretty much alluded to right after that game, this would be the last time the 2020 team plays together. This 2020 team, this would be the last time they play together. It started right then. It started that night. I think he knew what was coming. And then, look, and not to take anything away from Oklahoma, Florida at full strength. Florida, the team that played Alabama, Oklahoma was capable of beating that team. But Oklahoma's a pretty good team. Oklahoma's not 55-20 better than Florida, but that's exactly what we got that night because of the opt-outs and, honestly, truthfully, a lack of preparation. They didn't take that game serious. And as I said, I think you go back to that SEC championship game that night, and he was pretty much non-committal to even playing in a bowl game right after the SEC championship game. And I'm sure you sit there and think about it, and think about all the dollars that are behind it. You're going to play in a bowl game if you can. And look, there's two parts of the excuse. Yeah, you didn't have your players and all that. Go back to 3 weeks before that game. Then LSU pretty much come into the swamp in the same kind of scenario. Not a lot of players, rift, but maybe some rift in the locker room, maybe some rift on the coaching staff. They march right into Gainesville and upset the Gators there. So and then right after the Cotton Bowl, we kind of heard, yeah, it was a scrimmage. Had a lot of our backups in, had a lot of our scout team guys in, and that's pretty much what we got. So, yeah, and that was just, along the lines, Mark, of a weird dealing with press conferences with Dan Mullen all year long, and the Missouri fight on that. And, of course, I know we'll get into it. It kind of just culminates this week with a lot of off-field talk and NFL talk as well.
Hope you guys appreciate what we've got here with David. So please join him on Gators Breakdown. Tremendous coverage of Florida football with David and the rest of his team there on Gators Breakdown. You can catch him on your favorite audio platform or right here on YouTube. And that's exactly right. While the team was excelling on the field and just had the one slight misstep at Texas A&M, everything going well on the field for the most part. But Dan Mullen continues to have these missteps off the field, which, of course, if you're winning, you can put up with. And now it's gotten to a point where with the bad ending of the season on the field, culminated with the antics off the field, inquiries possibly from the Jags and from the Jets. Do you think Dan Mullen is seriously considering the NFL, and is the NFL seriously considering Dan Mullen?
I think the interest will always be there, Mark. That's a natural progression, natural next step. I don't think it happens this year. I think NFL teams may kick the tires on him. I think the Jaguars here, I'm located in Jacksonville. I think they have some interest in him if they don't get some other guys. I think they may ask to talk and they interview. I think there's probably 3, 4, 5 candidates, maybe with some Urban Meyer being one, maybe some guys in the NFL being some too. But we'll see. I think there's interest there. I think there's mutual interest there. I also think, Mark, two things can be true at the same time. I also think Dan Mullen's trying to use this to his advantage for maybe a contract extension at Florida and some demands from the administration at Florida. Part of that is, look, the administration is not happy with Dan Mullen. A lot of what we just discussed, and right now, Florida's on probation for recruiting violations, pretty much led by Urban Meyer, Dan Mullen right now. And he's on a one-year show calls because of that right now. If any other team in college football wants to hire him, they're going to have to go through the NCAA and get it approved. That's an outside. If you go and look at those recruiting violations, they don't seem that big. They're really not. But go back to Florida in the 80s when they were put on probation. Florida wants to run a pretty clean football program. The administration is not too happy about this whole recruiting mishap with Dan Mullen right now. That's the truth of the matter. But look, you're going to have disagreements. You're going to have spats. My co-host Will said it probably best the other night. It's like a marriage. You're going to have your ups. You're going to have your downs. You're going to have some rifts in the marriage. You work it out. That's what's going to happen at Florida. Dan Mullen will be the head coach at the University of Florida. And we'll go from there. I think the interest in the NFL probably wins out at some point. I think he wants to prove that he can win titles in college football before he makes that step. And I think go back to last year a little bit too. I think there was some interest. There were some people in the Cowboys office, Dallas Cowboys, who had some interest in Dan Mullen. And look, you had Dak Prescott there. You got his quarterback that he groomed in college. There was some interest there. It didn't ramp up high, but I know for a fact that he was interested in that as well. He's never really shot down the NFL in a lot of press conferences when asked about it either in the last couple of years. So I think eventually he does make the jump, but I think he still wants to prove some things at Florida as well.
What a bizarre season. Unlike any other season for anybody else in college football, because you can point to the truly good with all the winning, and even with the losses, everybody respected what this team performed on the field. They were always the highest ranked of their record, and then the performance against Alabama, and then just all the crazy antics off the field and everything that happened culminated with, again, if you take this and compare it to what, let's say, North Carolina put on the field against Texas A&M, I think people understood, okay, they're missing their best defensive player, all their offensive weapons. We can forgive a 14-point loss and them staying within range of Texas A&M, and it was actually a respectable effort on the field, and people were good with that. And I think if people would have seen effort and legitimate game planning and preparation, they would have been okay with Florida losing, even if it would have been, 41-24 to an Oklahoma team that was, again, arguably a top 5 to 6 team in the nation.